Welcome to this podcast, Mission GJ. We have our Apostle Erickson Salazar, Pastor Ingrid Goris, we have Franklin Beltre, and Esther Sosa. It is so good to be here flowing in the prophetic for the house. That's right. For the house and from the house, the place where we come to feed and nourish ourselves with the word. And in this second part of the experience in the missions from the NABSHOW, which we experienced recently, we share the first part, and this is the second group that complements our mission here at the NABSHOW 2023 in Las Vegas, Nevada. And it was amazing, Apostle. It was the first part of the experience in the mission with the first group where different leaders shared their opinions and the way that they visualized the conference. It was amazing. Apostle says, yeah, that was the plan for this experience that becomes a training, because we've come to bring ourselves up to speed to be able to face the demands that we have as a ministry. Because imagine, the word says that this gospel has to be preached to the ends of the earth, to the ends of it. So we believe that wherever there is a child of God, we have to bring the gospel. And what better way than using the technological tools, you understand? So the first group, the first team with whom we traveled here to Las Vegas, Nevada, it was impactful because they were very precise and clear, and they knew what they came here for, and they know what they received. And the best thing is that they're very encouraged to give by grace what they have received by grace, because we're here as a team training ourselves and bringing ourselves up to speed, because there's a lot of human resources in this ministry that we have to prepare in order for them to unite forces with us and for us to continue to bring the gospel of salvation. And that's deep, Lewis says, and it's amazing how the Spirit has led us in this mission. Without a doubt, always precise and concise. Apostle says, like we've always said, God supports and sponsors his projects. That's why everyone who unites, all the planning behind, the workforce behind these missions, those that if you are missing a tool, they facilitate them to you in order for you to execute that labor, that work, the way we are here. It's very powerful. And this is our second visit to this sort of fair. The first time it was a team as well. And in that first visit brought us up to this point. We put together our TV studio, and now with this second visit and all these technicians that are here, because everyone that came with us are part of the production team of the ministry, and that represent each of the different departments where we're going to be able to use everything that we've learned in this place. In the same way everyone has explained their experience at the show, we want Pastor Ingrid to go ahead and share what her experience was and what you thought about this NABSHOW 2023. First of all, Pastor Ingrid says, what I enjoyed the most was the team with which we traveled. The physical team that came to execute here. And the team that is behind the scenes supporting us so that we could be here. And they're sowing their seed. A lot of the tools that we have, we came to see the advancements, to see how we can take more advantage of what we have and how we can have a wider reach. Because our mission will not stop. And the technological advancements are the ones that help for us to have a wider reach, and so that we could do more and be more efficient with less work. So that's what we're here for. And the team that came with us came focused in being able to extract everything that we could in order for us to reach that goal. Apostle says, in reality, we got on top of technology because the Holy Spirit moves in many ways. And within the miracles and wonders, he does whatever he wants and as he wants. As a ministry, we have been moved from the beginning to get on top of technology in order to do more in less time. See how interesting? Do more in less time. That's why to this day, we are in the different continents of the world. We've reached people that are part of this ministry, and all these productions, we do them in order for each member, no matter what time, what schedule they have available, they may connect without a problem. So there is no way for the word to have any sort of barrier, but the word will arrive and contextualize with each one, no matter where they are and with whatever format they receive it. So it is amazing what Pastor Ingrid is saying about the team and everything that has been done. And we have to emphasize that before this mission took place, there was a planning of it where the research took place of what the topics we wanted to cover, the equipments that we wanted to assess. We came with our framework and we went through it 100%. It was 4 days of hard work, and it was really exhausting. Today is the last day of this fair, and we're going to see what Esther says about it. Esther Sosa, about what her experience has been. Esther says it was amazing. It was an experience unlike any other, in the sense that, as you were saying, we came prepared as a ministry. We didn't arrive to see. We weren't spectators. We came with the north and the focus of what we needed, the tools that we needed as a ministry, in order to be able to reach and others and give by grace what we have received by grace. Apostle says, and that's important. It's like we have always said, if you don't sit down and plan and do your assessment, you won't be able to take advantage of the project as such. So we feel satisfied that God allowed us to have this team, which I congratulate all of you, because each one of you took your part. You took whatever was delegated to you, and that allowed for there to be, thank God, no error in the midst of, there's always situations that come up. Every spiritual person understands that whatever you do for the kingdom, there's always things that at the end we minimize because we only exalt what has to do with the prophetic and that is of the kingdom. So we rejoice with Esther Sosa, who has been a warrior in this project and has assisted in many different areas and has been phenomenal. Now, leader Franklin Beltrés. He's one of the ones that has taken the most out of this because he's like the little brain that's always looking at the things behind. I've never understood him, but God understands him. What's been your experience? Well, first of all, I want to say that I feel privileged to be here. And like you said, I've always been, it's not a surprise to anyone, I've always been the little nerd, the one that loves technology. And I've always been interested in the technological advancements and how to do more in less time, as we've said. And when I got to the NABSHOW, it was like my eyes were open. And I was so like, okay, check all this out and all the things that can be used to the kingdom to evangelize and to bring the word to the people that need it. And when I saw everything, I said, wow, we are doing all this. NABSHOW is us, because we work with this daily, and we're taking content out, making content without any rest, without any pause, always constant. But now with these technologies, we can double or triple the effectiveness that we're having right now. And the first time you visited the NABSHOW, when you came back with all the technology, I gotta admit, you came with all the bells and whistles. I'm gonna tell you, I was one of those that was doubting, like, really? Are we gonna really use all this stuff? No, Franklin, it wasn't like that. I came and I said, Franklin, hold that machine, show him. And there was a technician showing him how to use it. And I said, do it. And I was like, and Franklin was like, is it true that I'm going to be able to do this? And Apostle says, I set all of them, and I set them all around, all the kids, and they had never worked with computers or anything like that. And I put them to work. And I said, let's go. None of these kids in the ministry had anything to do with TV or radio. And we brought technicians that were able to teach them, but none of them were prepared or had any knowledge. And today, what you see is a product of that day where we called on everybody and we delegated. You're going to control this machine, you're going to edit here, and you're going to use that laptop to edit. And this is how you control this switcher, and you're going to be on camera. And it's a reality today. And Franklin says, really, how deep and how amazing this whole revolution has been since we've had all this equipment, which we already had the vision. You know, the fact that I didn't believe is something else, but you had already said it. And now when we see all this and we see all this technology, like you said in the last podcast, that you said a cameraman in New York, another camera person in Texas, the switcher in another place in Latin America, and everybody from their house or wherever they are producing for the kingdom. That for real, that fills me with a lot of joy. It's something that I'm waiting for that. I'm counting the minutes for that. Apostle says, of course, because we realized that as they were presenting the different technologies, we were like, wow, we need this and we need that and we need that. Because what is coming now is totally remote, to the point where you could produce TV, radio, everything in a remote manner without having to have anybody in your presence. Something that I repeat, this has been 20 years working the topic of content. We've been working content for 20 years, and now the last 3 to 4 years is when that is known, but we've been working for 20 years in an internal way. We still make it internal. We're still not doing it for the general public. We work for the house. For every member, no matter where they are, they can have their nourishment, their food. Those of the house have to be nice and fed and happy and satisfied, just to be clear. So these things were spoken prophetically on the prophetic archives. You know, we spoke about these things, that we were going to be current, we're going to handle technology for the kingdom, and that is what we're doing. And you know what I enjoy the most? That when we're talking about remote, I don't think remote. I think that every member of the body, no matter where they are, they're going to work for the kingdom. Are you hearing this, my friend? Are you listening to me? I'm talking to you, the one that loves to listen to the podcast and the different content. When you're told, my friend here, work this from your house, edit this, and because everybody's going to be taught so that they can be part of this demand. Because we've always said that 1 defeats 1,000, 2 defeats 10,000, and the body defeats Hades. Those that are alone will not get anywhere. I've never been alone. I'm like the mafia. I always have a crew. I always have a group of people. You know, Apostle, speaking of the experience that Franklin had, it reminded me the first TV production meeting that we had. In that meeting, I did not believe. I was such an unbeliever and a skeptical. And I was like, what is this man talking about? The first multimedia meeting a few years back. And I said, what does he want? And Apostle shared this international news channel, one of the top international news channels, with us. And he said, you see this here? We're gonna be much better than them. We're gonna look better than them, and we're gonna be more professional than they are. And that is exactly how it is. And I had this team in my private terrace, and I have about 20 people. About 20 people lined up, and I said, you see this? we're going to have better image. And everybody was looking at me like, what is he talking about? And that was before going to the NABSHOW. We didn't even know what that was. It was a member of the body that then told us about it, and that's how we came across NABSHOW. But it was from that meeting that we didn't have anything, and we said I said we're gonna look better than that, but without any knowledge. And that is at the point where God started providing the tools, because we were recording on our cell phone. And it was a member of the ministry holding, broadcasting from the phone. And then we evolved and we found we got a tripod. And then we evolved and then we had cameras. Esther says, if I may interject, going through, hearing you talk about what you're talking about and having experience what we have experienced here, it makes me be grateful everything that this ministry does for a life. Sometimes we neglect the labor that is done as a ministry, and it's powerful to be able to see how the Spirit brings you to acknowledge and be grateful, because today I'm here because of that, because you didn't give up. And I remember the first time that I saw the broadcast was through a cell phone via Skype. And Apostle says, don't touch that topic, because when you talk about it, I start crying, not because I'm sad, but because I have resentment. What happens is, one of the first people for which we are a remote ministry was the Mota sisters, because they left to the United States and we followed up with them via Skype. And that's how we started the first services of the ministry were via Skype 17 years ago. And they were the first ones. And that's how the remote ministry began. That's where everything started. That's when we started using technology. We started using Facebook. Then we got on top of Facebook. Then we used WhatsApp. First, it was being with BlackBerry. We've always gotten on top of technology in order to bring the members closer together, to do more with less. And today, the whole ministry is remote. And with a lot of reason today, Esther says, wow, I'm grateful for the work, because she's part of that mission that reached her, not in person when she could do it in person. We couldn't do it in person no matter what we did, no matter what we tried, but we reached her remotely. It's amazing. So that's why she's saying that in a moment that's very precise, because it brings a lot of memories about the fact that we have followed that target and that focus in which we began. And I repeat, we began because of her. We are remote because of her. Not because we're trying to be modern or because we are making things up. No, let me tell you something interesting. We are remote as a ministry is because of the demand. There was such a demand of people that were international or coming through other members and didn't have the way of accessing us. And all we did was get on top of a teaching structure. And there was such effectiveness that there was so much effectiveness in reaching people remotely that we've left that in place. It's faster, it's more effective. People have grown, matured, and we even have leaders, pastors that have been prepared remotely. So we do have face-to-face. But the truth of the truth, those that come in face-to-face do not give it the value that those that are remote give it. So we're going to continue to invest in the remote because people don't have time to transfer themselves, to get themselves to a place. They can say, yeah, and they'll go one day. If it's possible, but then they don't have time because they go to work, they study, they have demands. People don't have time for anything. And the world is very fast. And it's so good that people in New York, Los Angeles, Miami, Italy, Spain, how everybody can connect at different times. And everybody can connect from their homes 24/7 because there's content that flows here, word that flows here 24/7. Fresh word that has to do with you. Here we work so that you can know who you are. We work 100% for you to be able to come out of ignorance so that you may know the wealth and the riches that God has placed within you. And you tell me if it's not worth making this sacrifice of continuing to find tools so that we can reach more, so that not just come feed yourself and fill yourself, but that you afterwards can start giving to others, because many evangelists are going to be given tools here so that they can work with more lives simultaneously. When we were watching all the equipment, looking at all the equipment that are up to date, where now you can have 200, 300 people in remotely and work with groups where you can have projecting quality and have a good communication. These are things that you say, wow, how many tools that we need, because we have an idiocracy online, and that's not just anything. We have a system. It's not that we evangelize remotely, but we also operate. We teach, we prepare, but also we have all sorts of handling for the territory to be enlarged and for everything to be structured remotely. So it's impressive that we have been able to have a body that has the same goal, the same objective. So it's a great wealth for us, for God to allow us today, for the second time, to continue to learn how to do more in less time. It is so good that as a team, we've taken on this mission, and that's why we're here sharing the experience. And what about you, Luis Miguel? Last week we talked about this being your first experience internationally. Tell me, how has that continued to bring out everything that you've learned? Luis says, well, it was amazing, because I gotta say that in this mission, as we mentioned last week, all the demons manifested. They're all like, oh, you're not gonna do anything. And at this time, I remember that Apostle was saying, no, we have to go, and we're gonna record at the conference. In the middle of the conference, we're gonna make the podcast. We're gonna bring everything to the conference. And I was like, but how? Why? Why are we gonna bring all those equipment? And everybody was dragging the equipment, the camera, recording everything, and taking pictures. And it was amazing, because all that was spiritual. I said, no, Luis Miguel, shut your mouth and listen. Listen, you flesh. Because this is going to be the boom of what we're going to revolutionize how we're communicating. The Spirit is working here, so take advantage of this moment. I slapped myself a few times and I kept it moving. I carry my backpack independently of any pain, because we walked a lot, because we collected a whole lot of resources. Apostle says, no, we did not waste anything. And like Luis Miguel says, I never really bring up the enemy and his noise, because it's more the noise that we make than the one that he makes. But Luis slapped himself, understanding that he was the one that was under the influence of the enemy. Because he said, wow. And it merited that, because it was his first mission, his first international mission, and he saw miracles and wonders happen. Even Joshua was saying, wow, I'm seeing my parents, how they handle themselves, because he had never had an experience like that either. He's been in missions, international missions, but not in this magnitude, where it's a very technical aspect, where we're researching so that we can have a better structure and a better infrastructure. Since all this, I repeat, is not doesn't happen with a magic wand. These are projects where we have to invest money and time, human resources, prepare the human resource. We have to take everyone's demons out. That's where we come in. To deliver one by one, to see which one we're going to remain with, because it's not easy. The hardest thing is to have, the hardest thing is not to have the human resources. The hardest thing is to bring someone to take on the kingdom. For everything else, Visa and MasterCard. And they're not paying us 1 penny for that commercial. That is why, in Louis' case, he had this experience to see the dynamic, the aggressiveness, and how the kingdom is taken on. That's why when we say the sponsoring of God, that is something that you have to see it, to live it, to believe it, because it is something that you enjoy. It's something that you understand that you're not just anyone. It's something where you say, wow, and I'm here in the corner. I'm here in this corner thinking that I'm no one. But then when I see these miracles and these wonders, which is what we see today, is no more than the trust of a child of God that's knowing who they are, and where they're going. And that is important to understand. Now, what we've always taught, you can't do it alone. So nobody here has to pretend to be the protagonist or the strongest. Listen, one is not worth anything, but as a body, we defeat Hades. We cannot stop. We are here sitting, but how many people from this ministry and this body are behind us, supporting us, contributing in every sense of the word, logistically, advice, the financial aspect, everything. Such a workup for this to be accomplished. But thanks for this sort of project, we know where we're going. We're not making things up. We're here to spend less, not to spend more. Okay? Because we came here to find a way to do things precisely so that we don't have to work twice or 3 times and then say that we learn. No, it's better for us to go, have them teach us, and then we get out. It's cheaper. But not only that, to take advantage of what we have, because what we have is worth a lot and we cannot neglect it. We have to learn how to, we have to know how to utilize what we have. And one of the things that I want to learn how to utilize is not just the equipment, it's the human resources. I'm here because I want to utilize all the human resource we have so that they can connect like we can connect, and so that they can take their load and start walking, because we're all going to take this on together, to take the sword and face all the things that can come up that have wanted to take people out, that are screaming, saying, help me, get me out of here. It's time to move. And I've always said Christ is coming. And because Christ is coming is because we have to accelerate. Let us understand that these things are things spiritual. These are the real spiritual wars that a ministry faces in order to complete the Great Commission of salvation. So all I can tell you is one thing. Everything that we're doing is to do one very important thing, to give by grace what we have received by grace.
Gracias por sintonizar nuestro podcast Misión TJ. Nos vemos en un próximo episodio.